Hello everybody and welcome to a brand new Elder Scrolls Online build video with me, Sherman. Today guys, we're taking a look at the Deathknight. This is a build that I came up with a while back for the Warden originally, and then I switched over to Necromancer when it came out because I felt it fit it better, and yeah, it's pretty cool. So let's go ahead and get into it, but before we do, remember, disclaimer, this is a more of a roleplay, casual play build. This is not meant for meta play, even though it is of a meta-centric design. Alright, let's go ahead and take a look at the build. We are a Dark Elf Necromancer. Dark Elf does work best for this because they get the extra max magicka, extra max stamina, and then they get the spell and weapon damage, which really applies to their overall capabilities of the build. As you can see with this, we have 30 points in health, 34 in stamina. This gives us 20k magicka, 35k health, 26k stamina, 918 mag recovery, 397 health recovery, and a 557 stamina recovery. We do have 1,793 spell damage with a 22% spell crit. We have a weapon damage of 2562 with a 28% spell or weapon critical. I do not have a Mundus Stone equipped right now, and that's because there's so many options for this. You can either go with mag recovery, which you really don't need. You can go with stam recovery. You can go with the Thief Mundus Stone. You can go with the Lord Mundus Stone for more health. You can even go with the Lady Mundus Stone to give you more resistances. There's quite a few options here that you can go with. For this, I'm going to go ahead and go with the Lady and show you what it looks like with the resistances, so you guys can see for yourself. You go to 24, 24. So when you're fully buffed with your resistance stuff here, you're going to go to 29, 29. That's really good. That's more than enough resistance to play more than 90% of this content. In fact, at 100% of the content, this thing can tank everything from dungeons to trials to whatever. So Lady Mundus Stone, very good for that. And then of course we do have the like I said, the Lady Mundus Stone. We also have Tri-Stat food. And then moving on to our equipment and gear, starting with our potions, primarily you're going to be using tripods for the health, stam, and magic recovery, and then the increased major intellect, major endurance, and major fortitude to give you health recovery, stam recovery, and magic recovery. Tri-Stat food, long fin pasty, and melon sauce, always good. And then going over our sets, and I'm going to go over these sets really quick. We are using Ice Hearts. Ice Hearts is a great set for this. It gives you a little bit of spell crit, which is nice, but it also, when you deal critical damage, you have a 20% chance to gain a damage shield that absorbs X amount of damage for 6 seconds. While this damage shield holds, you deal frost damage to all enemies within 5 meters every second. This effect can occur once every 6 seconds. Super powerful setup here when it comes to survivability and just a little bit of extra damage. So next one, the Hunting's Rage. This gives you weapon crit, max stamina, weapon crit, and weapon damage. Now, a lot of people are going to say, well, that's not a tank set, that's a damage dealer set. I don't give a shit. Straight out. Boom. I like this set because it does exactly what it says. It gives you crit, it gives you stamina, and it gives you weapon damage. I play that way. Don't like it, don't care. That's how I play. Moving on. Ebon Armor, great set for helping out your group. It gives you 2 things of max health on the 2 and 3 piece. 4 piece adds healing taken, and 5 piece increases the health of your group by 1,000 for up to 11 group members within 28 meters. This is a good set overall for that purpose. And then we are using a sword and shield and a 2-handed. So going over the traits and enchants, starting with the helm, chest, and legs for enchants, we are using Tri-Stats. This is going to give you that higher health, magic, and stamina pools. This is really going to help you out in the long run. And then moving on to the smaller pieces, we are using all health enchants on the small pieces. This is going to maximize your health pool, give you higher health. And then on the small pieces, we are using sturdy traits. This is going to give you higher block cost reduction, which is really good. And then on the helm and the legs, we are using invigorating to give us a little bit more stamina mag recovery. A lot of people don't build for this, but I do. The other thing is that reinforced on the chest piece, because it is heavy armor, is going to give you the highest amount of resistance out of all the pieces of gear you have. Moving on to the jewelry, we are using 2 Trirune rings with weapon damage enchants. Yes, I am using weapon damage enchants. I like to bring up a little bit of pain with my character, not wet noodle stuff. So, like the weapon damage, it's really good. And then the Trirunes add max health, magic, and stamina. That's really good for your overall resource pools. And then onto the necklace. We are using an infused necklace with mag recovery. Moving on to the weapons, we are using a sword and shield. The sword is Nirnhoned, and that is to maximize our potential with abilities on the front bar, increasing our damage output and increasing our spell capability of things that we do, like heals and different stuff. It just adds to our overall capabilities. We are using an absorb stamina here because we do have, being a tank, you will have some resource management stuff. You got to do a lot of heavy attacks, so why not take advantage of it? And then moving on to the shield, we are using a sturdy shield with a tri-stat enchant. And then moving on to the back bar weapon, we are using an infused 2-handed sword with a crusher enchant. That crusher enchant is going to stay up pretty much non-stop because we are using carve, which applies a dot, which will reapply this every 3 seconds. Alright, now that I've gone over all the gear and stuff, we're going to move on to skills. Starting with the skills we have on our main bar, we have Pierce Armor, great way of applying Major Breach and Major Fracture for 15 seconds. It also has a taunt. It does a decent amount of damage. Next ability is Deep Slash. I know a lot of people are going to say Heroic Slash is better. Well, you know what? I like using Deep Slash because it applies minor maim to multiple targets. It also reduces movement speed of enemies by 30% for 4 seconds. And I love hitting multiple targets. What can I say? Next ability I have, Spike Bone Shield. It's a great shield. It gives you a pretty decent amount of mitigation for a shield, and then also it returns 76% of all direct damage you take back to the enemy. This is whether it's magic attack, melee attack, it doesn't matter. Any direct damage attacks will be redirected back to the enemy at 76% of that damage. Also, it's a great synergy. Then we have Ruinous Scythe. This is a great ability. It does damage in a cone in front of you, just like Deep Slash, and it also applies a heal to you whenever you do that, and it can set enemies off balance. Then we have Defensive Stance. This gives you increased block chance and or amount you can block, and it also reduces the cost of blocking by another 10%. So this is all really good for that resource management, and it's another shield. So technically, if you wanted to, you could technically drop Spike Bone Shield and go for something else. One of the things I like to do is I do like to use my Skeletal Archers sometimes on the front bar so I can get a little bit of extra damage out of my character. So I will drop Spike Bone Shield for the Skeletal Archer. It's a very powerful thing. But the reason I like having so many shields on this build is because you stack so many shields, it's super hard for things to kill you. And you can still block incoming major hits. But you just let the shields absorb all the other damage. And that's why I like using Spike Bone Shield, and I like using the Defensive Stance, and I like using Ice Heart with this. Next ability we have is called Ravenous Goliath. This is an awesome ability. It turns you into a giant Goliath that increases your health by 30,000 for 20 seconds, and it immediately restores 30,000 health. While transform, your light attacks restore health and your heavy attacks restore health, and then you deal magic damage in an AoE around you that heals you for that amount. So it's really nice, and it scales off your max health. Next ability, moving on to the back bar, we have our first ability, which is our two-handed ability, Carve. This deals damage up front, it deals damage over time, and it is an AoE cleave. It's a great ability, but it's also how we keep our enchant of Crusher applied. Next ability, we have Blinded Blast Bones. This deals damage over time to enemies, or deals damage to enemies in an AoE, sorry. It's really nice. It also applies Major Defile, which can be really good. Then we have Unnerving Boneyard. This is here primarily because it applies Major Breach and Major Fracture. It helps with just giving you that really good capability of that, and it's a synergy. Next ability we have is called Mortal Coil. This gives you a heal over time over 12 seconds, but it does require a corpse. That's why we use the Blast Bones. And it'll heal between you and the corpse, and it restores stamina over 12 seconds. And then we have our Beckoning Armor. This is our primary resistance buff. It also can pull enemies in every 3 seconds, and it's awesome. And it also creates a corpse on when it ends. And then last but not least, Aggressive Warhorn. This increases max magicka and stamina of your group by 10% for 30 seconds, and it grants major force. The other reason why I like this build is when you want to solo play, you can always grab the Thief Munda Stone. And this is going to take you up to like a 40% crit, almost, like 35, 29. And then if you use the proper potion, you can also use the Weapon Power Pot, and you can get higher crit. And this way you can proc your monster set more often. I'll go ahead and show you guys a quick thing about that, what I mean by that. There we go. Ice Heart just procced. Now we got our Bone Shield up. And then we're going to pop our other shield. Now we have 35k shields pretty much for the duration, which is really great because it allows us to get that higher survivability. Like I said, this build is all about mitigating damage through shields, and it's super powerful for that. And then on top of that, you get all this extra damage output, and then when you pop this, and then you pop your shield, you get some pretty OP shields going on. So it's a beast, and it's just awesome. I love this build. It's by far, out of all the tank classes or tank builds I've ever played in this game, this is by far my favorite way to tank, because you just become a super beast. But that is pretty much it for that stuff. I'm gonna go ahead and go over the CP real quick. We're going to start with the red tray. I had to do some tinkering with this. So we have 56 in Ironclad. This reduces damage taken from direct damage attacks by 20%. 18 into Spell Shield, increasing your spell resistance by 1729. Moving on over here, we have 31 into Thick Skin. This reduces damage taken from damage over time effects by 13%. 43 into Hardy, reducing physical poison disease damage by 10%. And then 43 into Elemental Defender, reducing flame, frost, shock, and magic damage by 10%. Moving on over here, since we are using so many shields, Bastion is super important. We have 40 points in here. This increases the effectiveness of our damage shields by 16%. We have 20 into Heavy Armor Focus, increasing our physical resistance by 1900 when wearing 5 or more pieces of heavy armor. And then 19 into Quick Recovery, increases your healing received by 5%. Alright, moving on now to the green tree. We have 40 into Warlord, reducing break free cost by 16%. 16 into Sprinter, reducing sprint cost by 10%. 16 into Bashing Focus, reducing bash cost by 10%. Moving on to the final, or it's not final, middle green tree, we have 43 in Arcanist. This is going to increase your mag recovery by 10%. 75 into Tenacity, increasing your magic and stamina return of your fully charged heavy attacks by 14%. And then moving on to the final green tree, we have 40 into Tumbling, reducing dodge roll cost by 16%, and 40 into Shadow Ward, reducing block cost by 16. Moving on to the blue tree, we have 43 into Bless. This increases your healing done by 10%. And then moving on over here, we have 35 into Physical Weapon Expert. This increases your lighted and heavy attacks of your two-handed, one-handed sword and shield by 20%. And then we have 40 into Mastered Arms. This increases your damage done with direct damage attacks by 16%. Moving on to the final blue tree, we have 56 into Mighty. This increases your physical poison disease damage by 12%. Precise Strikes 56. This increases critical damage and critical healing with stamina abilities by 20%. And then 40 into Thaumaturge. This increases your damage done with damage over time effects by 16%. So, now that I've gone over all that stuff, I'm pretty sure you guys want to see how powerful this thing really can be. So what we're going to do is we're actually going to go to, not a dungeon, we're going to go into a trial. We're going to go into Sunspire, the newest trial added to the game with Elsewhere. This is the most difficult trial added to the game to this date. Because of one of the boss encounters, it's really tough. It's really hard to it has some really tough mechanics to it. It has some really tough survivability things. But I'm just going to go in here just to show you the survivability of this build so you guys can see for yourselves how sustainable, how survivable this build is. And I'm not going to probably kill anything too well, because, you know, I am kind of a weaker person than most people, but I do want to show this. So this is on normal difficulty. This is not on veteran. And a lot of people are going to be like, well, veteran is going to be the real true thing. Well, yeah, I won't go in here in veteran without a group. And that's mainly because I get beat on a little too hard. It's not that I can't survive. I can easily survive. It's just that I want to make sure that I do survive, so I can show you guys the survivability of this. The whole purpose of a tank is to survive and keep aggro. So, buff, debuff, summon, brawler. I'm gonna do all this kind of cool stuff. Oh no! Don't hurt me! Go ahead and heavy attack. I'm gonna go ahead and do this. Drink my potion. I'm going to do some heavy attacks. I'm just going to stand here and heavy attack for a little bit, because I really don't need to worry too much about shields. But as you guys can see, I can just stand here and just dish damage and take it like it's nothing, because I have so many shields just giving me that extra survivability that these guys, it doesn't matter. Like, they cannot deal enough damage to me. Really? I'm trying to get on my front bar and you guys are screwing it up. Come on, kiddies. Let's do this. Right. Alright, let's do it. Ravenous Goliath. Roar. Hey, go ahead and try and take down those shields. You can't. You guys are weaklings. Oh my god, I might actually survive this, guys. Oh wait, I am. I already know I can, because this thing's just, like I said, it's a beast when it comes to everything. It's just, it's super powerful. I think I took out both healers. I did. That means these guys are gonna die. Would you stop that, kitties? You guys are just too big. To survive in a trial, you have to block. I think I blocked like 1 or 2 attacks. Just to show like how much damage this thing can absorb, because it's ridiculous. Like, this thing can absorb so much. Would you get on? I'm stuck. I'm stuck in the ground. Look at this. Stuck in the ground. Devs, fix your game. I'm gonna have to die now because I can't do anything. I literally can't. I'm just gonna stand here and die. Let him kill me, so I can respawn. Oh, now I survived. Now I survived. Can I get up in time? Oh, look at that. Would you stop it? I'm gonna kill you. Die. Can I get my mortar coil off? Thank you. Ravenous Goliath time. Get over here. But as you guys can see, I can pretty much just stay here forever and let these guys beat on me. In veteran mode, it is a little bit more difficult, I'm not gonna lie, but you do have, like I said, a lot of shields to help you mitigate a lot of damage, and if you can keep your shields going pretty well, you don't have to like spam them, but just keep them, at least keep one up all the time, you can stay alive forever, indefinitely in fact. So, but now it's time for me to die, because, you know, that's what you gotta do sometimes, you just gotta die. Then these guys have 2 million health, and it takes a long time to kill them. Oh, and I died. Alright, we're gonna race right now to the main area here. But that, my friends, is the Deathknight. It is one of my favorite tank builds in this game, period, hands down. Like, I love tanking on my Templar, but nowhere near as much as I love tanking on this. This thing is insane how powerful it really is, and how much survivability it has, and how much capability it has for just standing there and tanking and being a tank while still doing debuffs and buffs and all kinds of other stuff, which was really cool. So, but that's pretty much it for the build, guys. I hope you guys liked it, and I do want to take back a little bit of the snarkiness that I had earlier when I said I don't give a bleep about what people think about me wearing the Hunting's Rage set. I play this game not to just do trials and dungeons. I play all aspects. I play Overland, I play Delves, I play PvP, I play everything. And I want a build that can do all that stuff in one. And that's why I build my builds the way I do. That's why I use sets like Hunting's Rage, along with Iceheart, and along with the Ebon Armor with this build, is because it's so survivable. And it's so self fun. It's a self-fun build. So, but that's pretty much it. I hope you guys like it. Like I said, and if you guys did, you guys know what's coming next. Go ahead and hit that like button. If you guys want to see more builds by me, you can subscribe. Other than that, I want to thank you all for watching. Until next time, have a wonderful day, and this guy might see you in game. Bye.